Good evening, all. Today we're here in Community Advisors (RSR), and today we're going to be talking about the consulates and their responsibilities. I'm the host, Raimundo Reyes, co-host Eduardo Rodriguez, member of LULAC District Council 18. Eduardo?
Yeah, good evening, man. My name is Eduardo Rodriguez. I'm the Deputy District Director, one of the Deputy District Directors for District 18 LULAC here in the Houston area. We cover about 25 different counties in the area. So we have a long, big area for us to see what's going on. So today, as part of our series, we got a lot of different things that we talk about, but mostly we try to get everything towards the community. Today's talk is going to be about how the consulates, your councils, el consulado de Honduras, the consul of Guatemala, Salvador, Costa Rica, Argentina, Venezuela, all these different ones, including the Cuban one. How do they work? How do they don't work? How do they help you? How they don't help you? When can you go see them and still be able to get a immigration benefit? Just because you go out there and you think, well, I got my paperwork with immigration and I can do no. You got to be careful. And immigration is not going to tell you this. I am. And the reason is because as a deportation officer, I used to use these things against people to get the order of deportation. So hopefully you'll learn a lot today.
Definitely. So we have an amazing host, co-host, Eduardo Rodriguez, who has a lot of information. He can tell you a lot of information on how everything works from, consulate, meaning how they work with immigration and how they don't work with immigration, how immigration works and around it. And so one of the questions, I guess, what are the responsibilities? So, Eduardo, what are the responsibilities for their citizens who are living in this beautiful nation, the United States of America? If a person from Mexico is living here and legally or illegally, and that person needs an ID or a matricula or a passport, does the consulate require to give that ID to their citizens?
Yes, that's their whole job. Their whole job is to be your government representative while in the United States. And that means for everything. Now, there are certain things they cannot do, but what they can do is any and all documentation that you need, your birth certificates, passports, IDs, matriculas, cedulas, you name it, all these different kinds of things they can get for you. If you need titles for your property back in Mexico, they can go ahead and get that as well. If you need work or you need somebody to help you with a legal problem in Mexico or in your other country, the consulates will help coordinate that whole thing for you to make that thing work really good for you. On top of that, they're also responsible for you when you get arrested. If you get arrested, their job is to go and make sure that you're okay, you're eating good, they're giving you good medical attention, that everything is going to go fine. If you have any questions or you need any, assistance in that, they're there for that too. They're there to help represent you in the court of law too. A lot of people don't realize that they can do that. And there's some judges that don't even know that. But yeah, that's their job. They have lawyers at each one of the consulates, and they can help you do that. They can help you with tickets. They can help you with all kinds of things. Now, each consulate is a little bit different, and their policies are a little bit different. But overall, their job is to be here for you.
Definitely. I agree. Their job is to provide, service to you because you're their citizen and they have to
Exactly.
yourself protect your rights and your interests. Therefore, sometimes, we're not trying to be, going against them, saying about them, but sometimes they don't provide that service, that good quality service providing whenever you go and ask for an ID, a matricula, a passport. And a lot of people know that. A lot of us Latinos, Hispanics know that whenever you go into the consulate, sometimes they're not very nice. Sometimes they refuse to issue the ID. And sometimes you have protests in front of the embassy and in front of the consulate.
Well, let's face it, all right. I mean, look, you got a guy who works for the Mexican government. All right, he's a Mexican citizen. He probably went to school or college down in Mexico, and he got himself a nice little job working in the consulate here in Houston, from whatever country, El Salvador, Costa Rica, you name it, wherever. It doesn't make a difference. And now he's here in Houston. Okay, while he's here in Houston, he's making a salary of maybe 25,000 to $30,000 a year. The guy who crossed the river last night is going to get here and probably go and stand in front of Home Depot for a couple of months, and he's still going to end up making more money than that guy. So when you walk in to get your paperwork and stuff, yeah, they're not crazy about you because you left the country, which they didn't do, and you're going to make, potentially staying here even without papers. You could end up making way more money than he is or ever dreamed about getting. And that's important because one of the hardest things for people to understand is that the economy in these other countries is not that great. We have some countries where they make, maybe, if you're lucky, literally in Central and South America, we have people whose annual salary is under $500 a year. We got guys that worked here construction that can do that in 1 week. Yeah, it's a big
Definitely.
difference.
So yeah, so like Eduardo said, the economy because of their jobs, because the differences, and sometimes there's controversy. Sometimes they're very controversial. Sometimes they make comments that are not very positive. And that being said,
Yeah, that's
a lot of responsibilities that they have to do and to provide services to their fellow
yeah,
citizens.
yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things we want to be able to tell the people is that that they're there
Definitely,
to help you.
Eduardo.
They really are. Can you hear me? Yeah. That's one of the things
I
that we
got it.
have
Yes.
to. Okay. That we have to sit there and kind of worry about. Is that they are here to help us, and they help us in a lot of different ways. And even for the police and for the government officials on this side, they're a very big asset for us as well, because we're able to go to them and say, hey, look, we found somebody who is maybe he's having a hard time understanding the language, because there's a lot of people here in this country that don't have a lot of time, to go out there and talk about the different deals. So, or they come from an area of the country that has a different language that none of us understand. And we get that a lot from people from Peru. We get a lot of people that have a lot of Indian dialects from those areas, and we don't know about them, and we can't talk to them, and there's no translators. So we end up finding these people on the street, and we're trying to find out where they're from. Luckily, we've gotten pretty good at it because they can usually get a hold of somebody from immigration, and we can pretty much tell, okay, yeah, this person's from this area, this region, or potentially from this country or that country, and then we can kind of point somebody in the right direction so they can call the right person, and that usually helps pretty good. But there's a lot of times when we can't do that. And there's a lot of times when the officers or the government officials, they don't have that opportunity. They can, or they don't even know to call immigration. Or there are people who just ain't going to call immigration because they're trying to help the people. So they start looking around trying to find somebody. In those cases, it comes up really good. In cases having to do with human trafficking, a lot of times we're able to go and work with the law enforcement of other countries, and we work with them through the consulates here in the U.S. We may start, for instance, immigration. If we want to go out and do an operation down in Bolivia, or we want to do an operation in Panama, or we want to do an operation, you know, in Paraguay, then we have to get a hold of the consul, and then the consul, either here, depending on how big the operation is going to be, we go to the consul. The consul gets a hold of the ambassador in Washington, and then our people are able to work out all the stuff that they need to. Then we send the agents down there, and they help us, and we work together with them, and we do that quite a lot. So that's a big help for the United States, and it works out good for the company, for the country too, because they're able to get some assistance from us that they would not normally get in the sense of manpower, professionalism, professional training, equipment, sometimes money as well, to help them set up programs and stuff to help us as we work together in these deals. Some of the projects that we have are 1 or 2 weeks long, and some of them are literally 5, 10, 6, 16, 17 years. Uh, so it just a matter. It's just a matter of trying to figure out all the different things that we have. But in either case, bottom line, their job is to help make sure that we, the United States, does not cause problems and um, does not violate any rights of the citizens of their countries. And that's one of the things that we like a lot because I tell you, when I was working for the government, I relied on that a lot. It's something that we really enjoy having that good relationship.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that information, Eduardo. I do want to apologize to people who are watching us because my internet, it's kind of bad. So I was having some issues with the internet, but definitely. So you see, there's the U.S. government, consulates, and the governments work with each other, and so it's good. It's good to have positive relations. Sometimes it might turn a little bit. It might be some fraction. For example, with whenever the caravans were coming, so it's the U.S. is like, please stop this, and sometimes the people are crossing the borders, and there's consulates in there. They have to provide services to those people, so those people are taken care of. Because what if they need a document to return back to their home country or to seek asylum in the United States of America, or whatever reason, maybe a person for tragically dies in the path to come to America, and they need to, send the repatriate or send that person back to their home country. It's a process. So yeah, so sometimes there's a friction because of things like that, but uh, hopefully,
And don't forget the other part of that. There's like two other sections that are really big that we don't even notice, but they happen every single day. And that's stuff like, for instance, coffee. I just noticed you were drinking a cup of coffee there a while ago, right?
yeah,
Okay, well, let me tell you something. That coffee doesn't come more than likely from the United States. It usually comes from somewhere in the Central or South America. Well, how do we get that coffee in here? Well, it's up to the consuls and it's up to the ambassadors of each individual country. With them, through them, we were able to work together to set up agreements so that we can get that coffee here at a good price. Okay. And on top of that, that's not the only thing. We've got, like in Mexico, my God, Mexico. Let's talk about that. Um, avocados. Woo, man, some of the best avocados in the world, right?
yes,
But it's also one of the craziest things about that is that it's really expensive. Avocados are sometimes because of the stuff that goes on in Mexico. Well, how do we get that over here? Well, again, the consuls and the ambassadors, they help us market things. Let's say that you and I tomorrow we go in together and we started a grocery store chain, right? And we decide, you know what, we're going to set up one in our county. We're just going to do small little things, like like a lot of the time when you go in the Asian community here in Houston, they have a lot of little stores, mini markets. They're just big enough. They're not even bigger than a 7-Eleven. They're just big enough for people to come in, buy a couple of things, and go home, right? Just for something for breakfast or a really quick sandwich or something like that. And but let's say we do that, and then we decide that we're going to import, you know, avocados. We want them, and we contacted all the local distributors here and the wholesalers, and we think we can get a better deal if we go directly to Mexico and get our own. Well, we can do that, but in order to do that, we have to get a hold of the consul. He's with his help, we can work out a deal separate than everybody else in the world. So we can end up with a really good deal, and maybe get some outstanding avocados at a really good price that most people won't be able to get. So Yeah, so they help you and they help me. If I want to sell my stuff in Mexico or Central America or whatever, it's the same way. It goes both ways. I have to get a hold of those, and I have to set up with them to talk about maybe setting up a new business down there or an office, or what do I have to do? Are there certificates? Are there requirements? Like for instance, for me, if I wanted to go and start either a business or even open an office to a business that I already have in Mexico, I can't do it. Why? Well, I'm too many generations removed from being a Mexican, so I'm no longer a dual citizen. And because I'm not, Mexico has a law, an immigration law, that basically says if you're not a Mexican citizen, you are not allowed to own property or a business, not even a telephone, in Mexico. So I have to get a buddy or a partner with somebody who is. Otherwise, I can't get my business going down there. But even when I do that, we still have to go to the consulate because he needs to be assured that my partner is a citizen of Mexico, and so on and so on and so on and so on.
That being said, so the consulates have to provide that service to protect, when you want to do business with them. So with that country, you go through the legal process. But also, if, for example, a citizen from that nation, say Mexico or Cuba or Venezuela or Colombia or Uruguay, Argentina, they have a business here in the States and a business over there in their home country, you know, that home country, depending where they establish the business, if they establish it from over there to this nation, that nation has to secure the business, the assets, make sure that any treaty, anything that happens, or an advocate for them to get, better service to that, whenever they import something to the States to sell it here, doesn't hurt them and they're able to make a profit. Same here, whenever everybody says, whenever the United States does business with some another country, they're able to, whenever there's an consulate, they protect their assets. We always hear it in the news. Yeah, so they have a lot of responsibilities, and they have a lot of things that they do, and sometimes we don't realize, and sometimes we don't know that they're there to protect our business if we own a business or operate a business. What's your take on that, Eduardo?
Well, it's one of those deals where that's how we're able to make things work for everybody. Everybody can make some money. Everybody knows that the product is going to be safe, and we all know that at the end of the day, the money that we make on it is our money. And that's important. It's really important because we have a lot of times that things happen in other countries that cause problems for a lot of people. So we have to set up protections, especially for our people here in the United States. I'll give you a great example. Venezuela is a good one. When Venezuela was non-socialist, we had all kinds of plants down there. We had Ford Motor had some plants down there. Coca-Cola had a couple of plants down there. Um, Westinghouse, GE Westinghouse, and a couple of other ones had stuff down there as well. We had nonprofit organizations who had headquarters in each one of the different countries down there. One in particular is what they call the Cruz Roja, right, which is the Red Cross down there. And but when the socialists came in, they literally ran all the Americans out, and they kept all the equipment. So yeah, the Coca-Cola factory is still working, but it don't sell Coke, you know, because now they get the syrup and all that stuff from Russia. But still, it's working, and they didn't have to put no money into it. They just stole it. They literally just stole it. So, but that's what the agreements come in, and that's where the consuls and the ambassadors come in. They help set up those protections. So just in case something happens, there's a way for them to recoup their money. Coca-Cola didn't lose any money. They had insurance. And that's how the big companies work. They have these international insurances. And the only way they do that is if the country government that's in power at that time has to put up X amount of dollars to cover that, so that in case something does happen, we can get our money back. But it
Yeah.
works both ways.
I guess in a sense, not getting too much into the geopolitical, arena, but yeah, I guess in another example would be Cuba. Whenever they had a political fight, and like you said, for the cola, the sugar cane, and so, but yeah, so there's treaties, and those treaties, and ambassadors and consulates, they all work with each other, and they make things happen to protect the money, the resources that a certain nation needs from another nation, and money to flow and everything to make it easier and, like you said, secure it. And
Okay, so now here's another aspect. Uh, we're not talking about politics no more. We're talking now about sports. Every 4 years there's a little thing we call the Olympics, Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics. A lot of the people from all over the world, their athletes train here. They come to the United States to learn how to be bobsledders or ski down the mountains or play tennis or baseball or whatever it is. Well, we work through the consuls to get these visas fixed for them so they can come over here and learn that. And then when the Olympics actually takes place, they fly back to their countries using a lot of the equipment that they bought here, and then they use that in the Olympics against our own people. So but that's part of the deal is that we're trying there's a saying in amateur sports. I don't want to just compete. I want to compete against the best. So if I have to help my opponent become the best he can be, then that's what I'm going to do. Because if he's at my level, that makes me want to work even harder to be a little bit better. So
Yeah.
yeah, we train them. We let them come on. Yeah, come on in here. It's not that we're trying to find out their techniques. It's that we want them to be the best so that when we go out and win, we are the best.
Okay, so we have a question from the public,
Yeah.
and so they're asking us. I have it here, a question in our video, and it says about COVID. When do we think? What do you think we could do to stop COVID? What can we do to stop COVID? I guess all these nations are
Well, as far as the different countries go,
each other. What can we do to
yeah.
stop COVID? I guess in a sense, all of us working together. How does that play? I know, there's developing vaccines and people are, the nations are talking. So the question was, how can we work to stop COVID? I guess in a sense, how can nations work with each other to stop COVID? And how does that? How do the embassies and the consulates work with each other? How do they make sure that the citizens who are living in another state legally or illegally get a vaccine whenever it becomes available? And how they get it at a lower price? So because sometimes are people who they don't have a lot of money.
Well, let's use Texas as an example. Um, when COVID hit Texas, um, one of the first things that Abbott did was he went ahead and he started trying to close down everything, and everybody had to stay home and all that stuff. You guys remember all that stuff? And they were giving Governor Abbott a hard time because they said, "Hey, why don't you just close down the whole state like they did in New York and in Florida and all this stuff?" He goes, "For what?" Because there was places in Texas, counties in Texas, they never had COVID. So why should they be shut down? They had nobody there with any COVID, and they still don't. So how does that relate to what we're talking about? Well, the same thing happened in all the countries that we're talking about. Every country all over the world had certain little spots where there was no COVID. So how do we cure the COVID? Well, if we're going to be traveling from one to the other, even with the sports and all that stuff, then working with the consulates, they tell us where we can go, where we can't go, where COVID is high or isn't high. So that way, when we send our people to these different places, be it sports or government officials or just people on vacation, because there's still people running around on vacation, you just have to be careful. And they're the ones that tell us, okay, look, If you're going to go to Spain, don't go to Madrid. If you do go to Madrid, only stay at this hotel. Stay at the American hotels because they know. Okay, so you know that, but you wouldn't know how to do that if you didn't have the consuls working with us. That's how we're able to do all that good stuff. And because of that cooperation, we have done a great job without having to get a whole extra lot of people in here with COVID. Now think about that. We still have people coming into the country every single day on airplanes from all over the world. But because we work so closely with the embassies and with the consulates, we know from what part of the country that they're coming from is or is not COVID positive. So when they get to the airport and the inspectors say, "Okay, everybody's line up. Let me see your passport." Yes, sir. Okay, you're from where? Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. Let me see. Okay, that was safe. Okay, next. Okay, yes. All right. Oh, wait a minute. This city here? No, it's on my list. You can't come in. And that's how we do it. So but it doesn't happen without talking to the consulates.
Yep, definitely. Like you said, and that's how you get the information. They just pick up the phone or they send an email and they talk to them, and that information is passed to us from the American officials over there in that country. So there's people who are here working in for the federal government. That's the flow information, and definitely. So yeah, so that's how it works. And for our viewers, I know they have a lot of questions. Like they're asking a lot of questions, and something has to do with international politics, and some things are nationally. And one of the deals is what can we do to tell the officials and the consulates to people need IDs, they need passports, and sometimes they're not open, or sometimes they're whenever you want to make an appointment, it takes a lot of time. It tells you it's gonna be 2 months, 3 months from now, and you know if it's expired and you're stopped by the police, is that ID still valid even though it's expired? Or what is your take on that, Edward?
Oh, that's an easy one, man. It really is because the way we have the set things set up, we have what they call a Department of State. The Department of State, their whole job is to deal with all these foreign countries. So they're the ones that actually are the ones that sit down and help design the embassies and consulates and where they're going to be. They help the different countries buy the piece of property and stuff like that, and they set up all the perimeters around those things. So whenever a country cannot, for one reason or another, fulfill its duties while it's in here, such as issuing visas and stuff like that, and people's visas and stuff are going to be expiring, then it's up to the country, the official, the senior official of that country, which is the ambassador. It's up to him to request from the Department of State a special waiver to anybody who has these particular deals up until such and such date. So that way, at least somebody somewhere in the United States knows that they're still valid. Now, unfortunately, though, here's one of the bad things about that. Only the federal government knows. The little guy on the street, in other words, the officer on the street, the one that pulls you over for a ticket, he doesn't know because it never gets down to him. Because why? 9 times out of 10, he's not supposed to be doing immigration work anyways.
Yep,
But he still needs an ID to write down the report or do a ticket or whatever. And then he sees that it's not valid. He puts that on there. Now you don't even have a valid ID. But these are things where the local consuls are supposed to go and talk to the local officials and explain to them, look, we're having problems. But those are just things that they have to do, and sometimes it doesn't get done.
definitely. So yeah, so that's one of the important questions, and hopefully in the near future we can have some representatives from different countries, actual representatives who work for them and who are actually the heads managing the the some part of the department of the consulate or the embassy, and we have reached out to them, and it's in the works, and we're gonna have them here hopefully in the near future, so that way they can provide information directly from them. Today is just mostly a show talking about the responsibilities. Eduardo knows a lot about the responsibilities because he has worked with the federal government I know myself because I just study politics and I like international politics, so I understand. And our Maria, who couldn't be here today, she deals a lot with immigration, with people who are immigrants. So she understands the duties and the responsibilities, and so we all know sometimes that how it works in paper, and how it works actually whenever you go in person. So that's why sometimes whenever we talk about this, like Eduardo is laughing. I know, we know how it is in paper. We know the responsibilities, but sometimes whenever we go in there, and sometimes we can go with our relatives, our parents, and whenever you go in there, we see that they're not very nice. But sometimes you have to talk to the people, and for a little bit above that employee, or maybe talk to organizations like LULAC and tell them, hey, help us out, you
It's
know,
true. It's true.
and
And you know, the thing about that is you're saying all that stuff, but it's absolutely true. Sometimes you get there because they're not like people from other parts of the world. They're not like United States citizens. They do their job and that's all they do. I've been to places where I was where was I? I was in Salvador, and I just sent about 18 people down there. So me and my partner, we flew all the way down there to drop them off, and we stayed the night, had a nice dinner, and the next morning we get in the taxi and we're going back to the airport. We get to the airport, ready to go, and we got our tickets and all this stuff. And then this little guy, he goes, passports. And I said, okay. So we pulled out our passports, gave it to him. He looks at him, he looks at us, and he says, um, he's basically telling us you need to pay an exit tax. I said, exit tax? Yeah, if you want to leave, you got to pay. I said, wait a minute, man, we ain't got no money, man. Oh, no, senor, you got to stay here. You cannot go. Oh, yeah, I need to go back. I'm a government official. I can't just stay here. No, sir, you got to stay. So, anyways, one thing, and that's all he ever did, right? That's him. That's his job. And so we're getting a little bit louder, and my partner says, "Is there, do you have a supervisor? Can we talk to a supervisor?" He says, "Yeah, he's going to tell you the same thing." That. So, anyways, the supervisor comes over. This young kid comes in. He looks a little bit more educated. He comes over, and says, "What's going on?" We tell him. He says, "Hang on, I'll be right back." He takes our passports. I'm like, "Oh, great." So we're sitting there. Now we lost our passports because the guy has them, and we're sitting there waiting and waiting. And the little guy comes back literally 5 minutes before they load the damn plane. It says, "You guys immigration?" Yeah. Um, okay. Here's your passports. And I said, "Do we have to pay the extra fee?" He goes, "No, no, no, no. Everything's okay. I got everything taken care of." I said, "Okay. So, what is it going to cost us, man?" Huh? He said, "What is it going to cost us?" Well, when the next two guys come down here, have a match for me. And he gave me his card. I said, "Oh, okay. We'll take care of it." Okay, okay. Dude, we got on the plane and but that's what I'm trying to tell you. There's guys, all they do is that one little bitty job. They don't know. They don't have the authority to think. That's not their job. Their job is not thinking. Their job is you don't got the money, you're not leaving, senor. That's it. Wow. And it's like that in the embassies. When you go to the embassies, it's the same way. You get this little lady with the little stamp. She's going, and you say here, and she'll stamp it and sign it and all that stuff. And you go, Senora, can I talk to you? Where's the restroom? No, 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 no. Well, I just need to ask you a question. No, no, over there, information over there. It's like, come on, but that's how they are.
definitely. And I guess whenever we have well, we all have personal experience whenever we deal with them, and sometimes it's not very pleasant. And there's a lot of talking. That's the reason we have the show, because we're talking to community members, and they reach out to us and tell us to have a show about responsibilities, what they have to do, what they can and can't do. That being
Right.
said, we That being said, the reason that we're having this show is because we listen to the community, and the community, the Hispanic and Latino community said, "Oh, please talk about the responsibilities so we know. And whenever we go into the consulate, and whenever we go to the embassy, we can talk to them and tell, hey, this is your responsibility. And like I said, we're working to try to get some of those representatives in here to talk to us, and we most likely gonna have them. And so yes, like you said, it's just talk. Somebody reach out to us, a few people, and they said, we need IDs, we need passports, but we're not able to get them. You know, they say they have these programs, but those programs are not. They say they're for the people, for us, the citizens from that nation. But whenever we go, we're not able to access them. So that's the reason. So if you have any questions, any comments, or the responsibilities, how you have felt whenever you go inside and try to get a document, process the document, please comment below in the comment section. And we're gonna try to provide you with information. How can you get that service or that documentation? Or maybe whenever we have those people, no, not maybe, but whenever we have those people, those representatives, we're gonna ask those questions to them. But definitely, please comment below your experience whenever we have dealt with the consulate to the embassies, representatives from your country, whenever you're here in the states, and you know how they have you felt, Eduardo?
And that's one of the things that we want everybody to remember is that they have to be able to let us know how in the world we can help them, because our shows are only going to be as good as what you tell us, guys. We want to be able to give you the information you want, but really right now, a lot of the stuff that we do, we know that these happen because we talk to people every day. We run across people, that need our help. I get calls every single day from all over the country, and also from other organizations, other members of NULAC and other members and other organizations, be it the NAACP or whatever. I get calls on cases for Haiti, for French, Spain, um, Japan, you name it. I get something from everybody because my specialty is immigration. So, and sometimes they're attorneys, sometimes they're regular people. But the point is, if they don't tell us, and if you don't tell us what you need, it's hard for us to give you that information. So what you hear us talking about, like even today, this has to do with stuff that we know happens every day. So we kind of figured, yeah, you understand it, and you probably need to know this. But it would be so much better if you just ask a question, because those questions will give me an opportunity to give you a much better detail on what you're looking for. So
Yes, definitely. I agree. And once you share that comment, you share that idea, and you share your experience and your questions, you know, we create a trend or here in the comment section where you talk about it, and more people are gonna start talking about it, and then eventually it's gonna reach the officials for that nation, and they have to address the problem. So that's what if you can, comment below and comment, like I said, whatever questions, whatever problems you have with them, whatever suggestions you have with them, whatever things they're doing good. And that way eventually is gonna reach to them and they have to reply back.
exactly, and that's one of the things that we've got to make sure that we do, because it's if you may not be the one who needs the information, you may be one of the people who knows somebody else who needs that information. But there's an old saying in the United States: there's no such thing as a dumb question, and there's not. Somebody needs that info. I can sit here and tell you a thousand different things about a thousand different things, and for you and me, it may be really funny. You and me, it may be like, oh, I remember that day. But to somebody else, they hear it for the first time. They go, wow, I didn't think about that. I could use that tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, we have somebody who luckily got something done because they learned something new. So don't
Definitely,
ever think they won't. It doesn't help. It does.
definitely. I agree with Eduardo. I definitely agree. Sometimes the simple stuff that you think is really simple for other people, they don't know it's not that really simple. And it might be that today you went and got a paper and it was the wrong color, and now you have to redo it again because you have to deal with the government. So, like I said, it's useful information. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So Besides Eduardo, besides providing documentation like a passport, whenever a person dies from a nation and they have to provide documents for that person that was deceased to send him back. Maybe the person wants to send him, send the person who died back to bury in their home country.
Right.
And besides protecting the assets from that individual who probably owns and operates a business here but lives in another nation, what are other duties that the consulates or the embassies, because the embassies are the bigger ones, right? And then the consulates are the ones that go local, more into the cities. What are their responsibilities?
Their responsibility, the biggest responsibility, is taking care of their people's civil rights. I'll give you a
Okay.
good example. Mexico is one of the big ones that we use around here because we have a lot of people that are from that country. But let's say somebody, from Mexico, either accidentally or on purpose, kills somebody, and he's given a capital murder charge. Well, in Texas, capital murder is you can be sentenced to death for that. Well, that's the Mexican, consul, and that's the Mexican ambassador's job, is to make sure that person doesn't die. That's his job, to make sure that the state of Texas does not kill you, and that's a big responsibility. There's also another one. The other one on top of that is, uh, what about we get a kid or somebody who needs medical attention, and they're sitting in the hospital and they're about to die. You know, as the law is written, the parent can say yes or no. But if that kid is a Mexican citizen on top of that, then the Mexican government, they can stop everything and say no. Well, we understand that the parent says, yeah, go ahead and pull the plug on him because he's probably brain dead or whatever. But the Mexican government can say no, stop. You just leave him alone, and we don't have a choice. So that's their job, is to make sure that the civil rights of each one of their citizens is protected above everything else, and that
Yes.
includes all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, we actually have a question from the public that says about healthcare. And they were talking, how can you make healthcare less expensive so people can afford it? In a sense, they're asking why, how can make healthcare more accessible to the citizens of that nation? So does the embassies, the councils have that responsibility? I know, and here in the states, it's I think it's the government policy. Whenever somebody goes to the doctor, it's not able to pay. Sometimes they cover some of the costs, or they cover the full cost. I'm not really sure how that works, and maybe Eduardo, maybe you can, you know, tell us about the responsibilities of the council. It's not the federal government, but the responsibilities of the embassies of those nations. Once that person, it's critically ill and they need assistance to pay for it for to be in the hospital or anything, are they required to do that, or is that optional? And before we touch on that, Maria, uh, co-host, has joined us. Hello, Maria.
Are you? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah.
Yes, how are you? I've been listening.
Good. Good. We hope we weren't too boring.
No, not at all.
Okay, so to answer your question really quick, here's an easy way, all right? How do you keep health costs down in the United States? You hire people who know what the hell they're doing, like Maria. You elect the right people to the right office, and then that way you get somebody who understands numbers. That's the truth. I'm telling you, healthcare is nothing but numbers, man. It's just like taxes. So why are you getting a lawyer to be in charge of the health department? And I'm serious. Watch this. Watch this. We have a certified, one of the best, I understand, one of the world's renowned best. Uh, what do you call him? Brain surgeon, right? Neurosurgeon or whatever. And what's he in charge of? He's in charge of housing. Really?
Right. Yep.
Really? I mean, think about this. We're talking about a brain surgeon, a real live, honest to goodness certified brain surgeon. Do we put him in charge of medical? Nope. We put him in charge of the houses. That's what we're talking about. You want to drive the cost down on anything? Put the right people in there, man. That's how you do it.
Thank you. And from the government, Eduardo, from the embassies, do they
Well, the
have
embassies have two things they can do. The first thing they do is, some of the countries have some money. Mexico has a little bit of money that they usually spend, and what they do is they actually pay in the form of a grant to a lot of different dioceses within the United States, and the dioceses use that for free clinics, and then that way people can go in and get a free checkup or free this or free that. Some of the other countries do that as well. The countries that don't have any money, they go to the either to WHO, which is the World Health Organization, or they go to oh, what's that other one? The one in New York City where all, everybody gets together, right? The UN.
Right.
And there's money there available for them as well. People like China and people like the Saudi Arabia, they have literally hundreds of billions of dollars sitting in accounts drawing interest here, because they don't draw the same interest in their countries. They put it here, okay? And but they give out money because they don't want to pay deals. A good example is what happened today. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Trump's taxes finally came out, the ones in 2016 and all this stuff. And everybody's saying, wait a minute. One of these years, he only paid $750. This man has millions and millions and millions, but he only paid $700. What's wrong with that picture? Nothing's wrong with that picture. That's how the system's set up. People like him, they're corporations. They give money away so that their tax burden goes down to nothing. That's how it works. We didn't make the rules. It was the Democrats that made the rules. But it doesn't make a difference who made the rules. The point is, it's for all of us. If I become a billionaire, I want to be able to do the same thing. And they know it. The other rich guys, all the senators, they know it. They do the same thing. All of them do the same thing.
So I guess they maybe we can explain that to the public, because I know it's an interesting topic. So whenever they own there's a corporation or some person who has a lot of money, they donate some money to charities, profit organizations, and therefore they're able to deduct it from their taxes.
Well, not only that, remember we were talking about businesses who do or who have offices in other countries, remember?
Yeah.
And that we use the consulates and the ambassadors to help us get these agreements, these licenses, or whatever else that we need to be able to practice in another country. We go back to Venezuela. Let's say that I've got a $20 billion company in the United States, and I decide, you know what, I want to build a factory down there in Venezuela. Then all of a sudden, this guy comes along, he kicks me out of the country, he takes all my assets, all of it. Guess what? You think I'm going to cry tomorrow? It's all a write-off. As a matter of fact, my $20 billion company, hey, that little factory that I had in Venezuela, it was also $20 billion. You prove it wasn't. So this year, I don't have to pay nothing.
Yeah. Is it Maria? Can you tell us something about the consulates and embassies, the consulados y las embajadas? Maybe you can share some of your thoughts and opinions and your experiences, because I know you deal a lot with the immigrant community. We all do, but in a sense, you operate a business, so you hear their comments, their concerns, their suggestions, and their problems whenever they need a document from the government, or I guess for the IRS, or for XYZ reason, and they don't have it. Maybe you can share some light on that.
Well, the most common paper that we need from the consulate is the passport. Usually, because people want to get the IT number, so we need the passport for that. And I think every country has a different procedure. Mexico, it's probably one of the fastest to give the passport, and then from there, from El Salvador, it takes a little bit longer. Guatemala a little bit longer, and some people has problems with the papers, like the birth certificate and other documents that they need to bring in order to get the passport, and they cannot get them on time, or it's really hard for them to bring it from Mexico to here, and that's where the whole thing gets stuck. And some of them say that it's very easy to go to the consulate, and some people say it's horrible, and they're not nice, they're rude, and they get mistreated, blah blah blah. I mean, every person has a different experience.
Yeah, it's like me going to my mother-in-law's. Yeah.
That's a good one. That should be a joke, actually.
It's no joke.
I know. So how do you like going to the consulate? Where's like going to your mother-in-law's? Brother. Yeah, so for the most part, last time I went to the consulate, it was fast and it was easier than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was a mess. You had to make huge lines. You had to go really early, find a parking spot, blah, blah, blah. Get a bunch of copies and all this stuff. Now it's easier, it's faster, and I think it's better. Another thing I found out is that Venezuela has no consulate or Cuba.
That's true. They have an embassy, but they don't have any consulates. That's true.
Sorry to interrupt. Is the embassy from Venezuela still operating from the actual government, or do we have the de facto government operating that one? Because whenever I was looking up to invite the ambassador, I went inside and I saw the picture and the officials, the non-recognized officials from inside Venezuela. Their picture and everything. And I was like, no, I'm not able to get this official because I want to get an official that it's actually who manages the country. To actually operate, to have and have their opinion on their embassy. But yeah, it's really interesting. Do you know anything about that, Eduardo? Who's in control of that?
What happens when you have something like that? They have what they call an exile government, and an exile government has the ability to go ahead and still run stuff throughout the country. And in this case, the United States still has they recognize the exile government. So the exile government is actually what you're talking about. Those people are still going to be, as far as we're concerned, in charge, but they have no authority. They can't do anything in Venezuela because they got all these other guys down there. So it's always something that you always have to play with back and forth. I had a guy that I had to work on. It would be right now about 3.5 years ago. I had Venezuela at that time was trying to get some parts for their helicopters. And a buddy of mine was working at this company here in the U.S. Who did the repairs or was going to do the repairs. So I got the call from him. He says, "Hey Ed, I got these helicopters from Venezuela and all this stuff." And he goes, "You wanna work on them?" And I said, "Sure." This was an intel case, and the reason I got involved was because one of the captains who flew the helicopters up here from Venezuela, he wanted to stay. And I had to help set up a way to leave him staying here. But at the same time, we had to set something up or get with people who could set something up to go get his wife and kids out of Venezuela.
So he was seeking asylum?
Yeah, he was seeking asylum, and we were going to get some good information because he was a military guy, so it was a good deal all the way around. But yeah, but nobody could help us. There was nobody we could go to as far as an embassy or anything like that to help us set anything up. Everything was done through back doors, all of it. Colombia was a big help for us because they still had good working relationships with us, and as far as I know, they still do today.
So yeah. So I guess that answers somewhat the question, because it's a complicated issue, international.
But you'll never see that in the movie, okay? If you do see it in the movie, I'll play in the captain. All right.
All right. So yes, but yeah, any other, before we go into any other, talking about the consulate and their services and comments about the people and everything, it's very important. But you mentioned that it's more easier now to try to get an ID and a passport than way before. And even now that it's easier, sometimes we still have, occasions where people are unable to get a document because somebody in there who's working there is not very, very polite, or maybe because that person who came to the nation illegally, or they don't have like Maria said, a birth certificate, or they don't have the documentations that is their correct documentations. And it's gonna be hard for them to get it, because one thing we have to realize, and people have to realize, there's a lot of people who are indigenous, a lot of people who live in places where they don't have access to a hospital. So whenever they are born, they don't have that birth certificate or vaccines. Whenever that deal they give you, whenever they have all the vaccines, they don't have that. So whenever they come here, back I guess a couple of years ago, there was this video where they were talking about people who were living, I think, in New York. They spoke a different language. It was not Spanish. They couldn't speak Spanish. They couldn't speak English, but they were from a Spanish-speaking country. but they didn't have the documentation to get, an ID or passport, I believe so, from that government, from that embassy consulate. And it was an interesting to see. And Eduardo, Maria, any comments on that?
Well, that's a hard one to say because we have a lot of people that do come from different areas all over the world, not just from Central and South America, but from all over the world. And they are these little pockets where they only speak their own dialect. And it's very hard sometimes to understand that. And let me explain something to you. That happens even in the United States.
Oh, yes.
We have people, and I'll give you another example, another story, okay? If you have time, do you have time for a story? Anyways.
Oh, yes,
So,
we have time for starting.
okay, so here I was sitting in my office one day and I get this phone call from this guy. He says, "Hey Ed, I got this girl and she says she's a United States citizen and blah this and blah that, but I know she's not and blah this." Okay, man, we'll bring her to my office. So he brings her to the office. He sits her down in my office and I start talking to her. And he says, "See, I told you, man, I told you," because he couldn't understand what she was talking about. And I said, okay, man. All right. You know what? Look, I got it. You got your report? Yeah, let me see the report. All right, just leave it here. I'll take care of it from here on out. So I started talking to the girl because see, I grew up in West Texas. And in West Texas, we still have what they call a country drawl. That's when you learn how to talk like a Texan, man. You got to know how to do that, man. You have to talk about people. You have to talk about God. You have to talk about the creek high and all. I mean, you learn these things. They're called mannerisms as far as that goes, right? So this girl was from an area in Florida where they spoke colloquial English, 1900 colloquial English. They say stuff like, "Oh, thank you, sir. You are monstrous kind." We don't say that anymore, but they still do that. And as I started talking to her, I started realizing, oh my God, this girl is a citizen. She's from here. So I got a hold of my boss and I brought him in, and he didn't know that. I said, look, watch this. I got on because this is back in '99, and I got on the internet and I found a little clip from a movie called Tammy. I think it was Tammy Falls in Love or something like that. It was Sandra Dee. It's an old movie, 1966, 67, something like that. And in there, it's about a girl who lives on the Mississippi on a riverboat. And she speaks colloquial English. And they don't understand it. People that do get an understander, they start laughing and all that because nobody talks like that no more. Well, here I was in 1999 with a young girl who still spoke like that. And even the Border Patrol agents thought that she wasn't from here. So it even happens here. Yeah. But when that happens, you get the consulates involved. How? You have to figure out, okay, what does it sound like? Well, it sounds Russian. Okay, then you get a hold of the Russian and you get a Russian on there and say, hey, man, you Russian? Yeah. Listen, can you talk to this guy? I think he's Russian. He throws in there. Then he gets him back. No, he's not Russian. Well, he's not Russian. No. He says, he's gypsy. Try the Italians. Okay. So we call the Italians, hey, man, and that's how you do it. Just trial and error going back and forth. And that's immigration. The guy on the street, the police officer who pulls you over, he don't even know that much. He goes out there, he looks at him and says, habla español. And then they say something, he goes, oh hell, I don't know who the hell. Who do we call? I don't know. They don't even know, call us, call immigration, because we deal with people from all over the world. They just go, you know what? Bueno, this is bueno. Here you go. They give it back to you. Bye. Let them go. They can't talk to him.
I have a question. Since we touched on the topic and the embassies are still dealing with the consulates and embassies, how does that work whenever you have the Native Americans who live close to the border, and some of them, it's my understanding, maybe you can correct this, this information. Some of them are sometimes they don't speak English; they speak their native language, but sometimes they're able to speak some Spanish. Based on the videos that I have seen from Native American, people, it might not be true. But I just want if you can share some of your thoughts and opinions on that. How does that work? Maybe if you're in immigration and you apprehend someone and it comes, you think that they're maybe, or maybe you think that it's, not from the nation, the United States, but then you realize, they're actually American, but they're just people who, I don't know, it might not happen. I'm just asking a hypothetical, question.
Okay, okay. Well, let me give you your hypothetical. There is no hypothetical. It actually happens every day. We have a place called Big Bend National Forest, right there along the Texas-Mexico border, and it has on it an Indian tribe, an Indian nation actually that goes back and forth from Mexico into Texas and back and forth. And they're United States citizens and they're Mexican citizens, and they're able to go back. And some of them don't even talk. They still talk the old language, the old Indian language, because they're elders, right? And some of them just don't want to talk English. So, but when you have a situation like that, it's very difficult for us because but we have a great working relationship. Remember that every Indian nation in the United States, anyways, those territories, the police on there, they're federal because the territories are federal property, and the U.S. Marshals and the Indian, they call it the Indian Agency for Indian. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's having to do with the Department of Interior. Um, anyways, they're the ones that are in charge of the Indian police. So, and they have police that can translate any one of those deals, and we can deal with them, and we work with them a lot, dude. You can look when you get off of here, go on YouTube, and they've got operations where they're running people down out in the middle of nowhere, man, for drugs and what have you. It's amazing the kind of work they do.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos. I have actually seen the videos and I know how they are. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just was curious because
Well,
or
you know what to me is amazing is that I'm able to sit here and give you the answers to all this stuff. And let me explain something one more time to the audience. 99% of the stuff that I tell you, it's stuff that I actually did. It's not stuff that I read or saw in a movie. I actually did it. All right. So when I tell you, hey, you remember this story that I told you? It's because I was actually there. These guys with the Big Bend, National Park. The reason I remember it so well is 'cause I did it. I was there. I saw those guys, and so I've had an opportunity to work with all these people. I realize now I'm pretty damn old, ain't I? Wow, wow. But anyways, yeah, you know, if you're really nice, Ramundo, I'll let you play me in the movie. All right? Just,
Maria, any comments about consulate and the embassies, the responsibilities, anything that that you want to share? I know you shared some information about what they need. They need the passport because they want to get their IRS. They want to file their taxes because documented or undocumented people they still pay taxes. And sometimes we get, I don't want to get political, but just making sure everybody knows. People who live here undocumented, who do not have documents, or not legally living in this nation, they still pay taxes. They still file taxes under an 19 number. They still file taxes, so they do pay taxes. And sometimes people talk, no, they don't pay taxes, but now you know that they pay taxes. Maria can share that information. Eduardo can share that information. And yes, Maria,
Yes, that is true. So even
you
if
share any
people
thoughts or
have
any?
yeah, can you hear me?
yes,
I'm having trouble with my internet all day. Sorry if I pause.
that's okay. That's okay.
So yeah, it's true. Even if people has no status in the country, they still have to pay taxes for the income they make. It's two different things: the immigration law and the IRS law. So for the IRS, we're all equal, I'm assuming. So we all have to pay taxes. And yeah, that's why the IT numbers issue, so people can pay taxes of whatever money they're making in the country. And the other thing I wanted to add is there's this thing whenever people goes to Mexico, they have to get a permit for their vehicles, or if they want to send vehicles to Mexico, that's the other how does it the other thing that they need the consulates for. and it's a very common document. So I think it's 10 years. Um, if a vehicle is 10 years old, then it can be sent to Mexico, right?
Yes.
And if a vehicle needs a permit to pass to the other side, then they have to pay like a permit, right?
Yeah, if they're gonna do that, yes. But it depends on what they're gonna do with it too. If they're gonna use it for personal use, if they're gonna use it to sell it, because there's a lot of people that are down there selling vehicles, and they just come up here and buy them, fix them down there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they're gonna donate them, because even a lot of missionary organizations, churches and stuff, they come up here and grab a vehicle and go back down there. So all that has a lot to do with it. I had a buddy of mine who was a Mexican deportation officer, really nice guy. And he was telling me about all the different things you have to do down there as far as even getting a work permit. I didn't know that. I mean, I'd been on the border already for about 5 years, maybe 7, and I didn't even know you needed to have a permit to work in, just like you did over here. And I said, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Nope. Yeah, you got to come over here." And the difference, though, is unbelievable. Here, as Maria will tell you, you have to submit paperwork and wait months. Over there, you could literally walk in the office and get it. You could probably get it within the day. But I mean, you got to pay an enhanced fee. We'll call it that. Okay.
Another thing that we know is that like working, citizens from the U.S. working in Mexico, we also know that there's a large number of people who are American citizens who live in Mexico, but they come back to U.S. to work, but they just live in Mexico because it's cheaper. And it's pretty interesting. You can watch videos, you can read up and then, read about it. But there's people who actually are American citizens who go down to Mexico to stay and live, but they come here to work. Maybe because it's cheaper the housing, but I don't know if there's a lot of people. Don't quote me on that, but I know there's people.
You want to talk about that, Maria, or you want me to?
Well, yeah, there's people actually that, I mean, there's different situations. That's why we have the non-resident taxes and the resident taxes. There's people that they're not American, but they come and work here and they live over there. So they have to pay taxes too. Or if you're American and not living in the country, you still have to pay taxes. So
Yep. And there's a lot of people like that in Baja California. We have a
There you go.
ton of people down there. As a matter of fact, it's almost that whole peninsula right there, that bottom part of California. It's almost a private island now, because there's so many people that live down in that area now that they got their own private security, a very, very good private security. So the cartel that they mess with those people down there. So it's nice. It really is a nice area. Puerto Vallarta, it's it comes and goes. Sometimes, man, it's a great place to go, and sometimes the cartels vacation in there too. So it depends. I mean, a lot of people get they disappear from there. So these are things that you have to keep in mind as well. But again, that is where the council comes in, because even our council works with the other governments to go back and forth, even if you're not a U.S. citizen. Just because you have a residency card, then you fall under jurisdiction of the U.S. and the U.S. has an obligation to go find you. So there's a lot of good things that can happen, on both sides. But
Definitely. Any final thoughts or ideas or comments that anyone has, or any comments that the public has? Please drop those comments. If the public has any comments, drop it in the comment section, and we are happy to talk about it. Like we had mentioned before, we're trying to get government officials for those nations to come up and talk to us here and community advice to RSR. Hopefully, we get some of the officials, some of the people who are in the higher ranks, so therefore they are able to provide answers and information that it's whatever they say, the word counts. Their word counts. It means it, So, and we're working on that. Hopefully, we're gonna get some from each country, because there's a Hispanic and Latino countries. There are a lot, and we're trying to get them. So I don't know if we're gonna be it's going to be possible to get them all at once, but we're working on that. And we are, me, Eduardo, Maria, and we're working on that. Any comments and thoughts or ideas, Maria or Eduardo, on, Consulates Embassy? Any final thoughts and ideas, comments, concerns?
Well, I just want to say that the consulate is there. It should be there to help the community. And sometimes people get treated like they're doing them a favor. It's not like that. They should not accept any mistreatment or any how do I say, authority or power of authority. I don't know how's that called in English. Look, when people is mean to them just because they're on the other side of the desk, they should not allow that. But this is America, and we are right. And people should be treated better than what they've been treated in the past. So that's all I
Yeah,
want to say.
for me, it's just it's the same thing. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's I've had good experiences. I've had bad experiences. I've worked really great with some of them in other places. I've had even going to other countries. They've been a great help to me in other ways, and it just depends on what we're trying to get accomplished as far as what do you need as a family, what do you need as a citizen of that country. Go to them. They're there. They're supposed to help you. If it's a birth certificate, if it's a title for your land, if it's trying to get a divorce in your own country from here, there's a lot of things that they can do for you, and that's what they're here for. So it's, and now I think with COVID, I know it's going to sound crazy, but COVID could have helped a lot because it caused the entire world to be even smaller, all because of COVID. Now that we're doing like right now, we're Zoom and be able to talk. We can do this from all over the world. Now, my first time that I did that was with a little bitty app known as WhatsApp. I didn't know you could call all over the world on video for free. I was like, what? That was awesome, man. So yeah, I've used it for quite a few years now, but there's so many things like that I didn't even know. But I'm learning like everybody else is. And so being able to do I guess work or trying to get some things done with the consoles, and it seems to be becoming a lot easier because of this new digital age. I'm sure there's going to be some bugs, but for me, it's been pretty nice.
Definitely. I agree with Eduardo and Maria with their comments, and they're definitely right. And we did this show because the public, requested to do a show and talk about their responsibilities. We don't want to talk bad about the consulates. We respect their nations. We respect all nations. We're Hispanic and Latino. We're brothers and sisters, and we respect them and we love them. We love their culture, their food, because we're Hispanic and Latinos. But we did the show just to talk about their responsibilities and what they're doing, and in the future, whenever we have this show, whenever we bring them over, the representatives, they're gonna share some what they're doing, because sometimes they're doing working on things, but that information somehow it's not passed to the community, and we have amazing people like Eduardo and Maria who are able to share that information to the public right away. So thank you for being here with us, everyone. Thank you for watching us. Join us on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about also the responsibilities of the embassies and consulates. It's going to be in Spanish. We're going to have some community members from local community members for Harris County and outside of Harris County, from from the community of Guatemala, the communities of El Salvador, the communities of Honduras, communities of Guinea Equatorial, communities, different places. You're going to come here and talk to us about, also talking about the responsibilities, what they have to do, what they're doing, what they're not doing, the positive, the not so positive. So see you Wednesday, 7 p.m. Gonna be in Spanish and lasts for an hour, 7 to 8:15 p.m. So everyone have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.